The film I will be analyzing is The Third Man, directed by Carol Reed, produced by the London Films Production Company, and released in 1949. Being released in 1949 makes this film a post-World War II movie, which plays a major role in the film. The late 1940s is also when Carol Reed released his other most famous movies, such as Odd Man Out and Fallen Idol. The film draws from Orson Welles films such as Citizen Kane and The Lady from Shanghai, and is similar to Casablanca in that it's a film about an American out of America. Other movies that were popular at the time were Orson Welles films such as Touch of Evil and other film noirs like Out of the Past. Most of what takes up this time period of post-World War II is the repercussions, reactions, and the fallout from the Second World War. Carol Reed is a British director and therefore has seen some of the worst horrors war had to offer. Nihilism became a way of thinking that had gained popularity in Europe because many people had no hope after seeing the horrors of war. And even though the Allies won the war, the ending wasn't necessarily a happy one. Things were less extreme in America because the war hadn't been waged on American soil, and the casualties weren't as high as many other countries. This was reflected in the characters of this film. Vienna, the setting of the film, was not the idyllic paradise it had once been. Much of the city was rubble, and the city had been broken up into zones. The city was crowded with refugees, and the zones fostered crime and illegal dealings. And so in the movie, Vienna is a parallel for the rest of Europe, and it's in pieces both physically and mentally, and morals and ethics seem to be all gone. The extract I chose is the final scene of the film. It's the conclusion, if it can be called that, because there's no tying up of loose ends, and it's where Holly and Anna attend Lime's funeral and afterwards Anna snubs Holly on her walk back to the city. So the funeral scene is foreshadowed at the beginning of the film, and the two scenes are nearly identical, one being the faked funeral of Harry Lime and one being the actual funeral. So some themes that are represented in the film are things not always being what they seem, questioning morality and what is right and wrong, and also a lack of hope. Now to get on to the textual analysis. So at this point in the film, this extract, Harry Lime is actually dead, and Orson Welles does not appear. So we never actually see the dead body of Lime, and this had to do with the deaths of World War II. Many bodies were never seen, never found, or never buried. So after Lime's death, the world and the movie move on. Not even bothering to stop to acknowledge the dead criminal. He is forgotten by practically everyone except for Anna and Holly. Anna is silent in this sequence, and she does not even say a word, showing that she is in mourning for her dead love. Her actions also show this. She is curt in how she throws dirt on Harry's grave and then immediately leaves. The most notable part of the sequence is how she doesn't even acknowledge Holly as she walks by him. Harry is still hopeful that he can get the girl and gets out of Calloway's Jeep for Anna. This is showing his American side, and that he still has hope. So the interaction or lack thereof between Holly and Anna exemplifies a lack of connection between America with its unbroken innocence and Europe with its nihilism and hopelessness. All of the characters are dressed for brisk, cold weather. This is symbolizing that they are protecting themselves from the harsh reality of the world. So, the location of the sequence, a cemetery outside of Vienna, is huge. Tombstones line the entire length of the road and serve as a reminder of the lives lost during World War II. The trees lining the road also represent death. They are stunted, trimmed, and barren of leaves. These same trees at the beginning of the movie still had their leaves. Their transition mimics Europe's transition after the war, a shedding of the unnecessary, the extravagant, and the frivolous, and a fall of morality. I'm sorry. So, to get into cinematography, the visuals in this scene are different than much of the film, having flat, angled shots, bright lighting, and long shots, unlike the previous parts of the film. The sequence has a realistic look, and this is all part of the director's intent in trying to create an accurate depiction of the hopelessness of post-World War II. Death was real, and this time Lime's death is real, and as a result, the sequence is shot realistically. Most notably in this sequence, and maybe the most notable shot in the entire movie, is the final shot of Anna walking straight down the middle of the road while Holly waits for her. It is by far the longest shot, and the length of the shot conveys a long period of mourning that Anna will go through for Lime, and the long period of mourning Europe will feel for itself after the war. In this long shot, the character blocking is vital to creating the theme Reed wanted. Having Anna just leave Holly waiting there is a symbol of how Europe has grown up and lost their innocence while America is still hopeful and innocent. Just by Holly waiting for her, it shows America is hopeful, and he believes that after all Anna has gone through, that she might want to be with him. Anna knows that she is too broken to even consider a future with Holly, and loose ends are not tied up. The audience does not know what becomes of Anna and Holly, and there's no happy endings the Reed way wanted it to be. So in terms of lighting, this extract is in opposition to much of the rest of the film. The lighting in this sequence is bright as it takes place in the day. In this movie, lighting or lack of it serves as to keep an air of mystery and to hide the truth. But this sequence, there is no more mystery, no more unknowns, so everything is out in the open, and therefore the lighting is bright. The time and speed of the film is not altered in any way, but because the final shot is so long, it feels very slow. This is almost like the shock of Harry Lime's death is setting in. This corresponds to the director's intent of creating a parallel to Europe. Of course, the funeral sequence parallels the funeral scene at the beginning of the movie, and this ties to the director's intent in creating the theme of nothing is how it seems. The end of the sequence and the end of the movie ends on a fade, and it's not abrupt. It's not an abrupt cut, showing that things will go on and life will go on, even if it is hard. So, in terms of the music of the movie is played entirely on a zither, and this creates an upbeat beat that has no happiness in it. The upbeat music with a sad tone is rare, but rare for upbeat music, but it helps maintain a certain pace in the film while also keeping the melancholy tone. The zither music was composed by Anton Karas, specifically for the movie, and there was conflict between Reed and a producer on whether or not to use Anton Karas as the sole music creator of the film, and Reed ended up being right, as the music was popular outside of the movie, and Anton Karas, after the movie's release, went on a sold-out tour. So the script was written by Graham Greene, who also happened to be British. The production company sent Graham Greene to Vienna to see what it was like, and then to write a script on it. He ended up writing a short book titled The Third Man that was adapted into this movie. In this movie, in the script, characters have trouble with names. Holly calls Calloway Callahan. Anna mistakenly calls Holly Harry a couple times, and Dr. Winkle insists on being called Dr. Winkle. These name blunders symbolize the lack of identity that Europe is going through in 1949. The message conveyed by the script is basically that there are no happy endings, humans are susceptible to moral corruption, and that things are not always the way they seem. So, The Third Man incorporates strong use of black and white, moral corruption, a lack of happy endings, distrust between characters, and many other characteristics of film noirs. The shots of giant shadows being cast on the sides of buildings, the espionage between zones, and the alcoholic cigarette-dependent protagonist all builds The Third Man into a classic film noir. The mystery genre is established by Henry Lime's fake death investigations and the piecing together of clues, the questioning of witnesses, and the black market dealings, the death of characters with key information such as the porter. The film's thriller genre is established by the unexpected plot twist of Harry Lime still being alive, the chase scenes in the sewers, and the unknown intentions of Harry Lime and the police setup aided by Holly. My extract sequence, for the most part, meets the genre of the rest of the movie, excluding the thriller. It does not meet the thriller genre because the excitement is gone, the tension is released. However, it meets the film noir and mystery by having the femme fatale, Anna ignore Holly, not having a happy ending, the protagonist's dilemma of should I stay or should I go. It fits into the film noir category perfectly with little to subvert what one would expect from a film noir. According to 1950 New York Times article on the film, there was a lot of hoopla surrounding the release of the film. In that same article, Bosley Crowther writes that The Third Man is a first-rate contrivance in the way of melodrama, and that is all. He writes that the film is superbly made, but there is little meaning behind the film other than to entertain. In contrast to Crowther in 1950, modern critics believe that there is immense meaning behind the film and that its commentary on post-World War II Europe is spot on. The Third Man has gone down in history as a great film and one of the greatest film noirs of all time. 47 years after the movie's initial release, Roger Ebert wrote of the film, "Of all the movies I have seen, this one most completely embodies the romance of going to the movies," and gives it 4 out of 4 stars. It's seen as Reed's best work and career performance from many of the actors. In 1949, in Britain, The Third Man was the most popular movie in theaters. In America, it did very well at the box office as well. However, in Vienna, the movie was generally received as underwhelming and only did well enough to stay in the box office a couple of weeks. The movie's first re-release was in 1959, and the most recent re-release was in 2015, showing that the story holds up to the test of time. I chose this particular extract sequence as my extract due to its difference with the body of the film, its parallels to the beginnings of the film, and the fact that it maintains and conveys the theme that has been established throughout the entire movie. The progression of the time period influencing the director's choices, influencing the theme, is wholly apparent. The ending of the sequence, and therefore the movie, is unexpected yet fits perfectly with themes presented throughout the film. This movie still has influence today. As Brad Pitt recently said in an interview, "I found myself watching a lot of Joseph Cotten movies," in reference to trying to build his role of a World War II spy in the movie Allied, released in 2016, showing that this film still has influence over the movie industry. That can